And this is when Aswad starts to go into the more commercial sound. Now, with Don't Turn Around, I don't really want to focus too much on it. I don't know how much you would like to speak on it.
But the thing is, with that as well, I think it's what story is known. Because with that, I think we're re-signing with Ireland, and Chris had an idea that we should record the first cut is the deepest, and I believe in a search for a producer because we were at the stage where okay we would try to work with a producer. I mean we were quite happily doing it, but obviously, like you said, with other things, we look for ways to expand and to grow. And I believe one of the people that was contacted was Jermaine from Penthouse, of Penthouse fame. And he had this other idea and he brought Don't Turn Around. We had a photo session. And when the photo session came back, I just thought it was the worst thing out. It was all pink and blue, and it just, to me, didn't look good. You know, we spoke about the picture, and with that, we ended up speaking about the look and what look we would like, you know, how we would like to look. And we then arranged to do another photo shoot. We decided we wore the hats, so we thought of like a cowboy kind of style, a kind of look. We That was the first time we delved into what we would look like. I think on the pictures that came back, they started to take us a little bit more serious. And with the single, which was Don't Turn Around, they then saw that, look, there was a possibility that they could work and develop that. And I think that's an important story within the whole thing, because I think the team at Ireland kind of took us more seriously because I always said to them that, you know, I believe that if Tina Turner had done this, it would have been a smash hit, not knowing that it was written for Tina Turner. But at the time, we had this great track, um, and you can have the music, but you need to have the promotion to push the music in the direction you need it to go in. And they, I think, with the advent of the photo shoot that we did, they began to see it. We then did the video. That Bruno did the video for that, and you can see it's in. You know, we're in the long cowboy coats and the whole work. And then I think they put it out on Mango label, and it was the highest climber every week. It just kept growing and growing and growing, and then sooner or later they put it out on Island Records, and then it went up to the number one spot. So I think it's important that that story is kind of known. It was instrumental in a lot of the development in, call it crossover or whatever. Yeah, a lot of our love for the music came out, you know, not just in, I mean, most journalists will know the English sides of it and they'll go, oh, it's very, you know, it's got R&B harmonies, it's got this, but that's our foundation. Our foundation is in the music, in reggae music, and go into the dances and stuff. And we love the home phrases. Um, and it's good. You know, you've done your research and you've gone, okay, I've heard, but this is what it was about. We were learning and
And then going back to Samande, you did The Message, which is the opening
yeah,
track on there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But ba-da, ba-da, ba-ya. I mean, they're great tracks. You know what I mean?
Now, I'd love to know the story behind Set Them Free.
Set Them Free, I wrote just before going to Lanzarote. We were going to go to Lanzarote just to do some writing. And I had a 8 track recorder. Um, and I remember having this track playing one morning. And Drummy and Tony went to breakfast. because I'm an early riser. So I had been working on this track. I had this track playing, and Drummy and Tony were in the breakfast room, and they heard this music playing, and they followed it all the way, right, and found that it was in my room. Um, we actually put that down with I think Duncan Bridgman and Peter Gledel, and for some reason that track just got wiped out. It sounded great, but we lost that, and we had to re-record it. Um, and we then went to Kenya to do the video. Let's find a place to do the video that we're not going to get, it's not going to be raining or have any problems. We went to Kenya, and I think for the first 3 or 4 days, we had to send back and say, look, it's raining nonstop. So we ended up having extra time in Kenya. But that video was the wildest thing I think I've done in recording. We had special pass to the Tsavo game park. And I remember going, okay, we're going to record here because it was like zebras there and it looked like I was in the middle of. When I look back at it now on the video, they're miles away from us. But all of that was recorded in the Tsavo game park. Not as close to the animals as I wanted to be. But we were charged by a bull elephant out of a bush that I think it's on the video. You can just see a little bit of it. But yeah, it was just great stuff. And in a place called Carnivore, it's near Wilson Airport. It's this big place where people used to go on Sundays, and they have a massive hearth and there's meat cooking all around, and they'll bring it to your table. If you've still got your green card up, they'll give you, and you can go in the massive salad bar. And I got talking to, it was Jan, I think his name was, one of the owners. And it was like, well, it would be good if we could just, for the video, we'll just set up and just play. The next thing we knew, I mean, I don't know if they had drums that were sending the message, but the place just got full. And that's what you can see in the Setnam 3 video. Yeah, it was just wild, dancing with the Maasai warriors. We're dancing with the Maasai warriors and feeding giraffes. And yeah, it was a crazy video.
And what are your memories of doing the Nelson Mandela 70th birthday at Wembley?
Like you say, every time you see Aswad, it's a little bit different. And on that occasion, you had Barrington Levy, you had Peter Gabriel, you had Salif Keita, you had Jackson Brown. I mean, Sly and Robbie, it was just different. It was just different.
Around 1989, you did the cover of Beauty's Only Skin Deep. Whose idea was that to cover that song in particular?
Okay. What happened? We were asked by David and Bobby Z to record that track for a film that they were doing, Big Man on Campus. So it's part of the film that they were doing. And we recorded that. We were on tour in America. The band continued, and we stopped off in Paisley Park to record that.
But I actually really enjoy that version because it's so different. And also with the music video, I like how it was like paying homage to Motown.
And that's it. Sometimes you just go out and just do things that are just different. I remember when we were asked to play for the Miss World competition, we kind of thought, was that the right thing to do? But in Jamaica, they just said, "Oh wow, you are definitely representatives of reggae." They actually loved that we did that. Prince, as you know, after his gigs, he usually has a place where he'll go and he'll play. He can either just be playing all night, or play drums, or sing, or whatever. And after this show that was at Wembley, he had a show in Tottenham Court Road, this place in the UK, and he was playing drums. Then he got up and started singing, and he handed the mic to a young woman in the audience. Unbeknown to Prince, this was Misha Paris. And when she started singing, I mean, he literally fell on his ass. Prince literally fell on his ass. It was like, what? He expected it to be, some woman trying to sing, reach the note. And he got full blown Misha. So the next day, I was in Island Records, and the girls were really excited because they said, "Oh, Prince has asked for some of Misha's music," and they said, "Oh, there's going to be a party tonight after the show, but it's really secret. Nobody knows where this party is." So messing about, I went, "Don't worry, I'll let you know where it is." They said, "How can you?" I said, "Look, we have just come back from Paisley Park." I said, "Prince and I are like this." So they went, "Oh, okay." Not thinking that I had someone that worked with the management team, and I'm a big Prince fan. So I always went to the gigs and everything. So I found out where the gig was. I was actually there, and I had a phone in my car at that time. So I called them and I said, "Look, the gig is going to be in Olaf Street." Okay. On the way in, I knew the security guys. So I said, "Listen, there's some girls that are going to come down there with me. They sent something to Prince." The next thing I knew, later on, the girls arrived. They were absolutely super stoked because they were in the party. Prince was just there. He wasn't playing that night. He was just walking around. There was Linda. There was it. It was just like, for them, just unbelievable. They couldn't believe it. And they're kind of just saying, "Oh, we thought you were joking when you said that you knew Prince. We thought you were having us on because you're always joking anyway." The next thing that happened, I get a tap on my back, and there's one of Prince's giant bodyguards behind me. And he says, "Prince would like to have a word with you." So I go with this bodyguard over to Prince, and Prince says to me, "What's this about Misha?" Because they had obviously heard at the door. So I explained to him that the girls sent him the track, Misha's track. And then I turned to him and I said, "Listen, I have to tell you something. Studio 2, the sound in there, it's and so the next thing you know, we're talking about studios." He says to me, "Listen, that's my favorite." He said, "I brought that from wherever he had it." And we start talking studios. So we are chatting away like you wouldn't believe. And then I said to him, "Look, can I bring the girls over that sent Misha's recordings?" He said, "No, man." Prince kind of puts his arm on me, and the two of us walk over like two buddies over to the girls, and he introduces himself to the girls. They introduced himself to him, and it was just like one of those stories that, how did that happen? But afterwards we've spoken many times about it, and they stayed on, and they met the band, and they went out with the band and everything. So that was my Prince story.
So in 1990, you go back to Jamaica to record Too Wicked with Gussie Clarke.
All right, okay. Too Wicked, we recorded in Jamaica. We recorded in Jamaica. I think I was telling you about taking a lot of the studio gear over. Yeah, music work. What music works is Anchor.
Right.
It's, I suppose the structure, but music works is Anchor. And at that time, it was at Slipe Road, and across the courtyard was Penthouse. That Jermaine and lots of stuff with Budger Banton, the early stuff with Budger. We recorded most of that album with Steely and Clevie. Steely and Clevie, we recorded that album with, and it was crazy because there we were with this full blown digital setup that wasn't like your modern day setup that's really small. As I said, we had a massive Winchester drive, and everything was a lot bigger than it is nowadays. And they, as I said, they had these small Yamaha keyboards. and he was creating music like, oh, unbelievable. Well, you could just hear this stuff, and it kind of made me realize to stop chasing after all the new things that came in. It doesn't matter. You can make music with whatever you have. Um, it's what you put into it. So I kind of stopped looking for the latest gadget and the latest things because they were using things, as I said, we probably would regard them as toys in the UK, and that would be what you'd give to your children. But they were making radical music with these things. Two tracks on that Two Wicked album included Shabba Ranks. Now, that was the first time that Shabba had ever worked with an English group. And he was on his way to the airport. He was flying out, but he was just like, no, I can't miss this. I don't want to miss this. I gotta come there. Um, I have to say at that time, we were kind of respected by a lot of the musicians there. Um, and yeah, Shabba made sure that he got there and he did what he could before he had to go off to the airport. And it was, as you said, Just Can't Take It and Fire. And Fire was the one that a lot of people know more in Jamaica because I think that was the one that was released here.
With Just Can't Take It, another thing I noticed was that the rhythm track was based off of Swing Easy.
As I said, a lot of we were in Jamaica. Do you know what I mean? And it was the music that was playing at the time, that gave you the vibes. I just love how you've got the ear there, man. You've got your ear down. You know what I mean? If you probably put it side by side, and a lot of people wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't hear it. But yeah, a lot of vibes have got the influence.
And this was also the last album that you did for Island. Yeah, you signed to Island 3 times over.
3 times we
Yeah.
signed, yeah, 3 times over period. Um, and yeah, we had possibly the biggest commercial success with Island.